Welcome to the GenX Pole Arts podcast, Fit, Fierce, and Fearless. I am Zen, also known as Nancy Adzentovich, the founder of GenX Pole Arts. I am happy to be launching this podcast where we are going to be celebrating the strength, resilience, and potential of women over 40 in the vibrant world of pole dance. I'm excited to embark on this empowering journey with you guys. And each week, we will connect with inspiring women who are redefining what it means to thrive in their 40s and beyond. From incredible stories of personal transformation to tips on building strength and confidence, we'll explore the boundless possibilities that pole dancing offers for self-expression and empowerment. Whether you're a seasoned dancer or just curious about the journey, there's a place for you here. So grab a cup of coffee, a sparkling water, whatever turns you on, and get comfortable. Let's celebrate the incredible power of women who are embracing their passions and pushing boundaries at every age. And don't forget to subscribe and join our community on social media and sign up for the 15-day pole dance challenge if you haven't done so already. All right, now let's dive into today's episode. Welcome to the second episode of the GenX Pole Arts podcast, Fit, Fierce, and Fearless. Today, I am so excited because I have my first guest, and it's somebody who's really important to me, my friend Deeana Garcia. And actually, now that I think about it, Dee helped me come up with the name of the podcast, Fit, Fierce, and Fearless. Dee and I have known each other for a few years. We are pole sisters, part of the same studio, and we actually started an events production company last year called Ladies of Leisure, and we produce pole events and parties for our community. And we have some really cool things in the works for this year. So I'm really excited to have Dee here. As soon as we're done today, we're going to a pole class together. So with a busy schedule, Dee, I appreciate you making time to be my first guest. You want to introduce yourself a little? Tell something about yourself?
Sure. So I am a single mom of a 6-year-old. I actually just did a drop off to his dad's. So now it's my time to invest in myself and do all the safe self-care and nurture my body. Hence the pole class we're going to go to afterwards. But aside from that, I have a full-time job. I do the event producing with Nancy. I like pickleball. I do crafts. But yeah, just pole has been a big part of my life for at least the last 4 years. It's really helped kind of elevate every part of my life. Surprisingly, I had no idea that it had the power to do that or was capable of doing that. But as I continue to put more time into pole, challenge myself, face my fears with these different tricks, express myself with various different kind of choreo, everything just starts to trickle down into my real life. And I just see myself really evolving and changing in this beautiful way that I never imagined to, especially in my 40s. And so it's been really cool to discover who has come out on the other side and continues to come out on the other side. And I love sharing it with others too. And I think a big part of it is, having my son kind of watch me grow and change throughout the course of things and events that have happened that got me here. So that's a big part of it. But yeah, thanks, Nancy, for having me.
Yeah, so excited. So you're in your 40s, you said, and that's awesome. How old were you when you first started pole?
I actually started right when I hit 40, actually. Actually, I hit 40 and then I started 3 months later. It kind of was at the same time where me and my husband had separated, me and my ex-husband had separated. So that's kind of the chain of events that helped me find pole. When we separated, I was really trying to find myself again and reconnect with my body and reconnect with who I was. I think when I was married and and having a toddler, I just kind of lost who I was before all of that.
Mhm.
And pole kind of came about after watching a documentary. Actually, I watched that documentary called S Factor on
Yep.
Netflix, and
Mhm.
then just hearing the stories of these women, kind of all walks of life, just trying to reconnect with their bodies and also like get over some pretty traumatic traumas and whatnot. I After watching that, I kind of was like, I think this is what I need. I think I want to try this. I think this is just something that I just wanted to try. Really, I just wanted to try and see where it went. And obviously, it's now a part of my regular life and regular habits and hobbies and whatnot, and I love it. So yeah, that's kind of a more than enough of your question.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. When you started pole, when you went to your first class, did you know anybody else at the time who was doing pole dancing, or was it just you saw the documentary and then you just went and found a place and stepped into the studio?
Yeah, no, I did not know anybody that pole danced whatsoever. I actually was really embarrassed about going into a class that I actually scheduled a
Mm,
one-on-one
okay.
individual session because I just didn't feel comfortable. But I recall now thinking about it, I was always like, back in college in our 20s, like I remember going to strip joints and different clubs and with friends. And I was always enamored by these women, just watching
Mm,
them express themselves freely and being comfortable with their bodies and just I always was really fascinated at watching them on the stage and just being them and regardless what shape, size, whatever age. It was just like really cool to see women do that. But seeing myself do it at first was really hard. It did take me a while to kind of look in the mirror and see this new person that was emerging. It was really like just shocking to see that I had that in me and that I was capable of expressing myself in that way and moving my body in that way and feeling and looking really comfortable doing it. It was really an interesting process. And I think sometimes I still do get caught off guard, like, whoa, that's me. Like, that's crazy. Who knew that she was under there?
yes. Oh, that's one of the things I really love. And one of the things I love about when I meet new women who come to the studio, and, like you said, you feel really awkward at first, and you're not, you're wearing a lot of clothes and you're kind of like just not comfortable really opening up and just committing to the moves and yourself. And then you watch these women after just a few weeks and how they change so quickly. And even, Instagram is a big part of the pole community. So we all post videos of our classes and the work that we're doing and really share it with one another. And it's a great, and I'm saying this, do you know this? But for anybody listening who doesn't know, like it's a great place where we get support from one another and from other pole dancers from all over the world, honestly. And we all follow one another and support each other. But it's cool to watch other people's journeys. And sometimes, Dee, I'll see your video like last week, that one where you're like, wow, my boobs look so good when I'm upside down. I was like, I was thinking the same thing. Look at Dee's boobs. They look amazing. But it's really cool to see like sometimes, I mean, I surprise myself all the time and then my friends surprise me as well, right? And it feels so validating and exciting when you just can witness that freedom. I think it's like, we become more and more free in the way we move our bodies, how we are existing in our bodies, how comfortable we are trying really hard and scary things wearing no clothes.
Hmm.
And I really can appreciate everything you just said about that. Like sometimes it's just like it makes you like, take a moment and be like, that's me, or
Hmm.
that's D, wow. And then here we
Yeah.
are in our mom clothes and taking kids to school and cleaning up, messes and dealing with work fires. And then it all changes when we
Right.
step
Right.
into the studio.
Yeah, I actually learned of this term. I think me and you were talking about it, Nancy, of various different ways of saying this. But one thing that came to mind was this notion of are these personas that we carry. And
Mm,
I feel like when I discovered pole, a new persona came about. A woman that could be whoever the fuck she wants to be in,
Yeah.
when she's dancing, wear whatever she wants, be whatever character she wants to today, and be amongst women and men that are feel make us feel safe and support our expression and our vulnerabilities, and we could just be whoever we want, and it's not even, it's like it's just like an opportunity to kind of play with our personas and our who we are and who we strive to be and want to be and become, and it's like a playful place for us to do that. And at the same time, all the various layers of pole, just the challenges, the tricks, the choreo, the songs, the music, like the instructors, the people you dance with, it's just like all of those different layers provide an opportunity to continue to like learn about yourself, learn about others, explore yourself. I don't think I really was expecting all of that, but it kind of all happens, and
Mm.
it's something to take advantage of. And I'm personally somebody that loves to do new things. It's kind of a dopamine addiction that I have to try novel
Mhm.
experiences. And so, like pole is continues to be that. It's still fairly new to me, and it still continues to like provide me new outlets to try something different or try something new or wear something new or be somebody else, or even like our ladies of leisure event producing company, like it's just become our outlet to like do whatever we want and be whoever we want to be, which I love.
Yeah. Yes, I love that. So I love
Hmm.
the idea of the persona because
Hmm.
it's true, of course. I agree with you 100%, but it also makes me think about the fact that we have to step in these personas where we give ourselves permission to do whatever we want.
Hmm.
And it's like, I'm 55 years old. Why don't I give myself that permission in all the areas of my life? Like in all of my guises and personas. Like I feel like and maybe now since this whole persona, right, Zen is come into existence and has reached this stage of maturity. It's been years now since she's been part of who I am. And I do think that's trickled over into other areas of my life. I've changed my career. I stepped away from a job that didn't work for me. I stepped away from a relationship that didn't work for me. I'm parenting differently now. And I think that all comes from taking a little bit of that. I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want because it's my life. And I actually don't need permission to do that. Like that came to me in the pole studio. And I think I always thought I lived my life like that. Like I was very much living by the Gen X ethos, right? Like non-conformity. You can't make me do what I don't want to do. Meanwhile, I was living a life that I didn't want. I was like, how did my life get to be what it is today? Because this isn't the life I ever expected or really wanted to have. But it wasn't until I really, what's the word, surrendered to that pole persona and really leaned into our community as well, because I think that's part of what gives us the space to step into that persona, because we all are supporting each other in doing that and unleashing our most authentic selves and following our passions and being who we are. Finally came into my real life, right? And now my life looks completely different than the day I stepped into the pole studio for the first time. Completely
Yeah,
different.
yeah. Something you were saying kind of brought something up for me. Just like when I started pole and how I showed up and presented myself in the workplace, I felt
Mm,
like there was a significant impact there that I was kind of surprised to see. I was just so much more confident in
yeah,
the workplace. I was able to kind of connect with my feminine energy to kind of influence people, to pretty much, do what I need them to do,
yeah,
to get certain projects completed and whatnot. There was just this different energy that I was really practicing. And I work in tech, so it's a pretty male dominated industry. And so I work with a lot of men, and being able to utilize that feminine energy that I really started to open up to after pole has been really empowering. I feel like I'm definitely, very much supported in the workplace because I have this like way of inspiring or influencing people to do what I need them to do without this like this like authority.
Mm.
And so it's definitely impacted my work environment a lot. And just like, also being super vulnerable, like when I don't know certain answers to questions at work, I can actually admit it, like I'm not perfect, like those sorts of things are just like really being okay with who I am, how I present myself today, and like not worrying about all this judgment, at least at the best. I'm not perfect, but I still worry about that stuff, but at least there's a lot more outlets for me to practice vulnerability and just accept who I am and as I am, and continue to live that way. So yeah, it's been good. It's been really good.
That's really beautiful and definitely an unexpected kind of halo effect coming from connecting with our bodies and being surrounded by a girl gang, you
Mhm.
know? It has
100%.
allowed us. Oh, yeah, look at that. Love that. I want one. Forever Girl Gang. If you're not watching the video, Dee's wearing a sweatshirt that says Forever Girl Gang on it. But yeah, I never have had so many female friends, honestly. Definitely not in my adult life, and to be surrounded by that much feminine energy, and if I think about our whole family, right? You work in tech. I've always worked in like digital media and data and analytics. We have lawyers, we have doctors, we have teachers, we have therapists, we have musicians, we have artists, we have so many different types of women coming together. It's super empowering. And so, yeah, when you go back into a male dominated workplace, it's almost like I'm bringing the energy of that girl gang with me,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And like I haven't gotten to a place yet where I share pole with my
Mm,
coworkers and colleagues, but there are times where I wish I do. That's kind of a goal, maybe I think for me is just like being able to be open about my hobbies because I'm sure like I'm just like I want to share all the things that that I can do that I had no idea that I could do, and I do work with other women too. That and
mhm.
I would love to share it with them, and I have actually kind of on the side, but not openly with everybody else. But it's just being a woman that works in a predominantly male dominated industry. It's like we kind of need to stand together and support each other and help each other out in those sorts of aspects so that we can stay, we could be women and express ourselves as women. I think that's also something that I've struggled with in the past of that masculine feminine energy in the workplace, and then who you become when you or who you have to become or whatever when you get home, and what you're expected to become. That's always been something that I've always kind of struggled with, and but after pole it became a lot easier and trying kind of trickled down to my dating life. I know I'm kind of going into a tangent, but anyways, like just who like again, I separated 4 years ago, and so when I started pole, it was just like I was really trying to figure out what kind of partner I wanted to be and who I wanted to show up as a partner. And pole really played a big part in that, in being able to relax and be calm and just let, men be men and women be women. And
Mm,
I don't know, I've been a different person since I pulled in how I navigate dating and the presence of a man in my life. Or even in a space, like in temporary space, I could be interacting with a man, and just whatever, whoever comes out of that dynamics is really interesting to watch. And I think Paul has a big part of that I can kind
mm.
of look from the outside in and just watch me, present myself in various ways that I think Paul really helped peel that onion to see who could be present at that moment.
That's so interesting.
Hmm.
So it's, if I'm understanding, I think what you're saying is it's like a new comfort and safety in your femininity.
Mhm.
Whereas, especially in the field that you work in, and this was the same with me in my career too, being surrounded by men, having to create a persona that maybe required a tamping down of the femininity and the vulnerability and the softness in order to thrive and survive in that kind of a work environment. And then having to shift when you come home and you're a mom and a partner, you have to like, and it's a constant like back and forth. And it's exhausting and confusing too, because you're always being the person who's required in the moment rather than just being yourself,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
do you have an example maybe that you can share where you've seen the, like, I don't want to say the new D, but
Mm.
where you really have noticed, the your ability to exist more in your feminine energy versus how maybe 5 years ago, that wouldn't have occurred?
Yeah, yeah. I'm always in meetings, as most of us are at work, and I think I'm more. I feel more empowered to speak up. I think that's a big thing for me to be vocal in what I think and what I feel, and how I speak up too. Not being combative or argumentative, but just like being able to share with a calm demeanor and being at peace with whatever I'm sharing without any fear of being wrong or being judged. Just kind of allowing myself to do that, and I've noticed that how it's being received. It's even amongst the men in my workplace or in my team,
Mhm.
it's very like it's being received really well, and I really appreciate that. I think they see the value in what I bring and the energy that I bring in the workplace, that they really play a part in helping me continue to release that and continue to express myself in that way. I would say overall, like, to summarize, it's like confidence. I saw a lot of confidence come out, and it was noticeable. I remember my manager at the time was like noticing how much more vocal I became, and just how I took lead in this very different way. And I do notice too, I'm also more observant of other women leaders in the workplace and
Mm.
how they lead. And I do have managers and VPs that I look up to because I see that they're leading in the way that I aspire to lead, and yeah, it's been really cool to just notice now. I don't think I ever really noticed those sorts of things before, but now that I'm in the world of of balancing all of these energies and being and involving, like, I'm super keen to like notice now, like, how women engage, how they just how they navigate themselves in the workplace. It's been really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's very interesting. I think kind of building on what you're saying about noticing how colleagues and senior people carry themselves around you in the workplace. So I left the corporate world just almost a year ago, but prior to that I was an executive. I was the chief marketing officer at a business consulting firm, and one of the founding partners was a woman, a little bit older than me, and then there were a couple of other female executives as well. And I definitely noticed at the time that I was paying more attention to how they were carrying themselves, and I could see when they would shrink. And these are women
Hmm.
who are, one of them started the company and has run it successfully for decades. And another one, definitely was qualified and experienced enough to be in the role she was in. Yet in certain situations, they would shrink shrink themselves down, or even, just acquiesce to a male point of view, which didn't seem like the right thing to do. And so I almost, in a hopefully, a non intrusive way, found myself being the champion of the other women. And because I don't have that problem. I don't have that shrinking problem, right? And that's, I was kind of that way before pole, and pole helped me to just maybe soften that a little bit. I was in much more of a masculine energy at work, but I wasn't supportive of other women. I was never
pushing other women down to raise myself up, but I definitely wasn't like coming to anybody's aid either, if you know what I mean. I was
Mm-hmm.
I was very in that male dominated like mindset of it's all business getting things done. I wasn't seeing it as like an opportunity to help build up the female workforce as a whole. And I think after being part of our pole community, I actually stepped more into that role in the work environment as well. And it was appreciated. It was
Yeah.
noticed, it was recognized. And
Yeah.
I absolutely attribute that to my experience in the pole studio and the pole community, being surrounded by other supportive women and realizing that it's not a competition with each other, it's a competition with ourselves. And when we all
Hmm.
support one another, we actually all do amazing things.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and I
Right.
not something I expected when I went to my first pole class.
Yeah.
All of this, it's so much more than just holding yourself up on a pole and like wearing
Yeah.
big gorgeous shoes all the time, and thongs. Like
Yeah.
it's so much beyond that.
Yeah, you touched on something that I actually had a good conversation with a friend. I actually somewhat recruited a new friend. Well, no, she's not a new friend. She's a very old friend and I recruited her to try pole, and she just did her first like level 1 class this weekend. And just kind of the conversations that we've been having. And, she's like, I want to dance. She was saying things like, I want to dance like you guys, or like, I want to be able to dance. I was like, no, it's not about, dancing like anybody. Dance like you. Dance like how you want, like how what you feels good in your body. Like you don't need to look like anybody. Like pole isn't a place for you to be who you want to be, how you want to be. Like you don't need to like look like anybody. And in my head, I was like, that's a big one. Like the whole comparison game that we
Mm,
tend to play. Like it sucks, to compare yourself against other women, and that's like a huge exercise with pole, right? Because we look at people that can do tricks, and we're just like, why can't I do it? Like, we get frustrated at things like that, where we're comparing ourselves with each other, but really being able to step back and not make that so important. Like you don't need to be anybody. Just like you're on your own journey. We say that all the time. You're on your own journey, and everybody differs significantly on what tricks you can do, what tricks you can't do, how you dance, how you don't dance. It's like everybody is just across the board has their strengths and weaknesses, but it's like to be able to not continuously compare yourself to other people and just again accept who you are, when you are, how you are at this point in your life is a great exercise that pole provides too. It's like just be able to take it slow, take it step by step. You are, and just let yourself grow as you grow. And there might be times you plateau, and that's the part of pole too. It's just kind of the practice of it is really exercising all of these things that are super useful in everyday life of not comparing each other, being okay with the ebbs and flows of your progress or your regression, whatever it may be. It's just like just let it be, you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's so important and a great lesson. And I
Mhm.
think we could probably start to wrap it up. But one thing I just want to touch on about the comparison piece. So we're over 40. I'm over 50, right? And we're talking to people, and our audience is probably majority over 40. It's hard to sometimes remember my age and not compare myself to my friend who's 27 and who's doing crazy things on her second try or her first try. And I'm like, oh my God, I've been trying to do that for a year. That's like, well, I'm old enough to be her mother, maybe her grandmother. So it's like, okay, I don't think about my age, but sometimes when I'm being hard on myself about what I can and can't do, I have to remember my age because
Yeah.
we do have some physical limit. I hate to say limitations, but things might take longer when you're older because we are maybe not as strong or flexible. We've had more time in life holding trauma in our body. We get stuck places, whatever. So I think just remembering that like you said, wherever you are in your journey, is exactly where you need to be, and just don't compare yourself to anybody else.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
Thank you, Dee. This has been so fun. We could talk for hours like we do, but we could talk on camera for hours too. Maybe we could do a second episode down the line if you'd be willing. I'd love to have you come back and we could talk about some different things. But
Yeah.
is there anything else you just feel like you want to share before we say
Um,
goodbye?
yeah, for everybody out there, just try it. Just give it a shot. See what it opens up. You might not like it, and that's okay, whatever, but just try it. I think the great things about novel experiences, there's this great chemical reaction that happens with dopamine, and hopefully it lifts you up and it makes you addicted to pole just as much as we are. But yeah, just give it a shot. You'll be surprised on what it kind of exposes for yourself. So yeah, that's it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks,
Bye,
Nancy.
everybody.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of Fit, Fierce, and Fearless, powered by GenX Pole Arts. I hope you feel inspired by the incredible stories of strength and resilience that we shared today. Remember, it's never too late to embrace your potential and unleash your passion. If you enjoyed this episode, please, I would appreciate it if you would take a moment to subscribe, rate, and leave me a review. Your support really helps me to continue to uplift and empower women over 40 in our pole dance community and beyond. Don't forget to connect with me on social media for more inspiration and updates. I'd love to hear your stories and share in your journey. So until next time, keep dancing, keep shining, and remember that your strength knows no age.